Go.
All righty.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi.
Hi, Alicia. I'm so excited to be here again this week with you, Ruth, and our special guest, Alicia, where we talk about friendships today, and where Ruth and I get to continue the discussion about finding your new normal after any kind of major life change. Ours were brain injuries, but as we were just discussing, it's not always a brain injury that brings a major life change, and major life changes oftentimes affect our friendships. So today we're going to talk about switching up our lives, continuing that series, and how friendships play into that. We're going to look at the role that friendships play in our lives. And, you know, sometimes we need to release a friendship that no longer serves us, or an aspect of a friendship that no longer serves us. And if we do that, then how we go about welcoming in new friendships, new relationships that do serve us. And I'm excited that Ruth will be closing us today also with a fun energy exercise.
Yeah. So let's start off with this is a good segue into friendships and how friendships change. I'm not sure that years ago I would have been comfortable sharing an energy exercise with people, because this really is about summoning up your internal power. So we're going to do this together. Okay, put your hands together. Ready? Rub them together really hard. Keep rubbing, keep rubbing, keep rubbing. Feel that heat in between your hands. Okay, now take your hands and shake them.
Oops.
Okay, now go back to rubbing. All right, now what we're going to do is we've created this energy in between our hands. We've collected all this energy. We're going to take it, we're going to form a ball and feel the ball of energy between your hands. Is that crazy? How crazy is that? And it grows. Push it in and out and play with that ball.
That's so wild.
So you can summon that energy and that smile, that one that you feel, that internal smile you feel right now, anytime during the day. I know, it's tempting to keep playing, isn't it? You know, we want to just...
How long does it last?
It lasts as long as you want to, and anytime you want to recharge it, recharging station right there. Okay? And this activates it a little in a different way. Now hold your hands out and feel how they feel. I mean, you can feel the energy in your fingers. That's stuff that you activated in you. That's a pretty powerful tool. I am glad to share that with my friends. Thank you.
And that's wonderful. And we talk about the role of friendships in our lives. And I think it's really cool to talk about that. And I'm excited to introduce a dear friend of mine who came to me in a very unconventional but more conventional way now, in that we met online. So, Alicia, will you tell us a little bit about yourself?
That's always fun to do. I live in New Orleans, which is a great place to live. I work part-time in kind of unconventional projects. I have 3 children, 2 of whom are grown and have left my nest, and 1 who is in high school. I've been married for a very long time, and I am a writer and the producer of a show called Listen to Your Mother.
Busy.
That's it.
That's about it. Okay, really. Is there even a sliver of space left on your plate?
Yeah, there isn't.
That's all.
But that's the way I like it.
Else. Yeah.
Yeah, but I like it that way. I like it full.
I think that's probably part of the reason we relate, is that I do like a full plate too.
Yeah.
And I think that's, you know, a perfect segue to talk about how friendships serve us, is that they lift us up and they can help validate, for me anyhow, they help validate when my schedule does get busy, or sometimes if I do, I like a full plate, but there are times where I just want to say, okay, I need another set of ears. Not my husband who wants to step in and fix, but I need a girlfriend who can listen.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference there. So for me, I often depend on my friendships to help keep me grounded and sane. How about you, Leisha and Ruth?
I think that the friends that we have that ground us, and we had kind of a pre-conversation about this too. I think we have different kinds of friends in different situations in our lives. I think our friends evolve with us as well. Think about when you were in high school and the kind of friends you had. That situation defined your friendship. So you move on, you move through your life. Kids grow. We all have grown kids. Leisha, you have a younger but almost grown young man, right? So
Right.
those friendships evolve and those friendships morph. So those friendships that were defined by our relationships with children, people our children had relationships with, are completely different. And I saw myself differently in those. As change happens, your friendships change too, and our needs change. And it's okay to have that change travel with us and travel with our friendships. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Leisha, you've probably experienced some of that too, especially since your youngest is 2 years from graduation now, right?
Right.
And perhaps the activity, the involvement in some of the school activities has changed, or you've become more focused where his focuses are more defined.
Right.
So it might have been that the older ones did a different activity and that kept you in a group and things like that.
Exactly. For so many years, our social circles were the parents of the other kids who did the same activities that our kids did. And a social event for us was sitting in the bleachers watching a lacrosse game. It wasn't going to do an activity of our choosing. And we were grateful and we loved every moment of it. But those were that was our social network. And when my youngest one, my second one who played lacrosse, quit his junior year, I felt like I had all of my friends dump me because I didn't see them all the time anymore. And I had kind of a grieving time when my son quit playing lacrosse because I missed my friends who had been my social network for 6 or 7 years as he grew up playing.
That's an interesting. Yeah, it's an interesting thing you bring up. Friendships. When you lose a friendship, there's that change is huge, and there is a grieving process because you're so personally invested in that. Think about, we all talk about how busy we are. We find friendships that fit within our interests and fit within our focus. So when somebody else changes your focus, like when your son quit lacrosse, that was something that was imposed on you. That was something that was not of your choosing, and that's an imposed kind of grief. That's different. That feels a little bit different. It's almost like
The other point is we find friendships that also fit our schedule, because I think oftentimes we forget how much that plays a role. So perhaps before we had kids, we had different schedules that allowed for different friendships. And I know that when I became a mom, some of those friendships that I had with women who didn't have children kind of fell to the wayside because my time was dictated by nap schedule and bedtimes and feeding schedules. And it's very much, and then when I worked part-time and also managed the kids, and all of it was dictated in many ways by my schedule.
Absolutely.
And sitting at a lacrosse game, that friendship was in many ways dictated by that schedule of, okay, this is where we gather because this is where we're supposed to be. And I think that when you talk about the mourning, to forget the importance that those relationships do play in our lives.
Yeah.
And I think that, having friendships tied to things that you're doing also puts a little excitement and energy around those things that you're doing. It's like, oh, I get to see Leisha today. I get to go to this lacrosse game. Cool. I get to see Leisha. There's my bonus. So we're feeding ourselves in that way as well. And I think another thing that's important to talk about with friendships and change is that we can take ourselves in that situation and we can redefine how we look at our position in the friendships, if that makes sense. Let me explain it a little bit better. So your friendship with all of those other parents were defined as another parent. If you're going to take that friendship to another level once that lacrosse relationship is gone, how do you redefine that friendship? We evaluate what was good about that. Was it a situational friendship? Was that just because I was there? It gave me something to look forward to. Do I enjoy that person's company enough? Do they feed me enough to make the time in my busy schedule to make them part of another group?
Right.
So it's finding those. Yeah.
In that case, some of them did. A small handful did remain friends and are still, we still do things socially with them now. But most of them were situational. And while we enjoyed their company when we were there, we don't seek them out now. It just changed.
Right.
And
that's okay.
And it takes some additional effort to then say, okay, where else do we have a bond? Because that's really, friendships are based in many ways on what we share in common. And then we start building a bond. Leisha, you and I both met through our blogs originally, I think.
Yep.
And then online in our Facebook pages. And then it evolved into more of a personal relationship. But you look for a common link first. And I know that, as you both know, I homeschooled my girls for their whole education. And that, I lost my job last spring when I graduated my last one. And with that, in many ways, when a community that I was a part of, even though I'm still teaching at a private school for homeschoolers, I'm not necessarily a part of that community in the same way that I was.
Right.
So I'm looking around saying, are there relationships here that I have created that have other sparks for me? Things that I see that make sense, that I want to.
Yeah, those shiny little energy things, it's like what feeds me here? What excites me here? I want to go back a little bit because I've been wondering about this. So you guys met, first introduction was reading each other's blogs.
Mm-hmm.
What was there one thing that you, Leisha, and you, Mary, said or read that's like, ooh, I want to get to know her a little bit better? Was there a spark there? Because I think for people who don't have this, I met this person online, they don't get that spark. So what was that? Or was a general feeling or
I would say it was almost everything. I'll say general because it was just everything. Just really, really similar perspectives on life. Not necessarily lifestyle things because we live very different lives. But perspectives on life were the same. And I think that's what drew us to each other. And then, this was several years ago and we kind of violated all the online safety rules by introducing ourselves in a personal way. Yeah. Can I tell a story? Probably 2 years or so after we became personal Facebook friends and just, we would just connect individually as opposed to through our writing or websites, our Facebook pages. It was Mary's birthday coming up. And so I messaged her daughter and I said, this is going to sound so strange. And I know it's against everything your mother has taught you about internet safety, but I'd like to send your mom a birthday gift. So is there some address that I can send it to, like maybe someone's office or a UPS store or something? I just really wanted to send her a birthday present. Her daughter shared with me an address and I was able to send her a birthday present.
And I was so touched by that. And Leisha, it's so funny because I have to share now, you are almost like this additional resident friend in my house that my kids know and they talk about and that's Leisha. Okay. And Leisha is the ideal friend in that she is the girlfriend that goes the extra mile. I was first connected because of the similar life philosophies. I loved finding another, I'm sure we would both have been put in the category of mom blogs, but that clearly enjoys her husband, enjoys her children, enjoys her life. She has a very positive outlook, and that resonates with me. And then as we became friends, and I found that in many ways, some of our parenting philosophies are the same. Some of the challenges that we've faced in parenting have been similar, all of those things. But she does go that extra mile. So she'll pick up on things that I may post, and she follows up. She's a special person. So
you guys, you both brought up some amazing points about why friendships are important in midlife and how we can find those friendships that feed us wherever we are and within whatever we're doing. You both were drawn to the fact that you shared similar philosophies, similar outlooks, similar positive focuses in life. So it's those things, that's what feeds you right now in your life. Is you wanted to, sometimes we like to preach to the choir. And sometimes we want the choir's opinion. Sometimes it's like holding up a mirror and saying, really, if I were stepping outside myself, how would I see this? And you find that in each other. And how cool is that? That's really amazing. And that feeds you. So you don't have to meet in person. You've never met in person. That blows me away.
No.
That absolutely blows me away.
I have a real life friend of mine asked me one day who Mary was, because every day we're in each other's places every day. And she said, how do you know her? She lives in Colorado. And I said, I really don't. And, I told her the story, and it was kind of surreal, but not really, but a little bit.
Yeah. It is funny.
It just, and as we evolve, I'm not sure that probably our kids are more comfortable with online friendships at their age than we would have been. A distance thing. Mary and I both have this, we process better when we can read each other's body language, or when I'm in front of somebody and I pick up cues from how you're holding yourself, what your eyes look like, what how you're moving, that kind of thing. Those cues help me process. So I'm not sure that a younger me would have been comfortable with that. And that's another example of how our comfort with friendships change and what we need changes.
And I think when you talk about the younger self, it kind of comes back to that authenticity that I think when we enter into any relationship and then it evolves into a friendship, there's a certain part of us that may or may not hold parts of ourselves back for fear that that's going to be seen as weird, or that'll be rejected, or all of a sudden I'm going to be talked about behind my back. Whatever it is that we learned growing up and we might still carry inside of us. And then as we get older, I think for me anyhow, I place more value on my time. And where do I want to invest that time? And that includes my friendships. What friendship can I invest time in that I feel I get some sort of reward back? I don't know if that's making sense at all.
It does.
But it helps me then decide that this relationship, although I may enjoy the person, it's not where I have a lot of time. And I won't invest time there simply because I don't have a lot of time to invest.
Right.
If that makes sense.
When you don't have a lot of time to invest, there's also that risk reward thing. I hate to bring it back to very simple things, but what's we'll speak accountant speak for a second. What's the return on your investment for this time, right? You take a look at, I'm putting this much energy into this relationship. It's not that I'm putting it in because I want to get something back, but it needs to feed a part of my life that feeds the rest of my life. So how does that work? And it's that weighing process, that balancing process. It's like that intricate dance, I guess, is what it is.
Alicia, you were going to add something there, I think.
I liked the return on investment angle, because it is,
Of course you do.
We have such limited time. We have, the slice left on my plate is very tiny. So I have to be, circling back to what you just said, I have to be receiving a reward that makes it worth giving up that little sliver. I I'm just learning finally to build friendship time in to the schedule so that it actually becomes a thing on the plate and not an aspect of my life that gets the leftovers, that gets the scrap of time. I'm just getting there.
That's such a good point.
It's a mom thing. I think that's a mom thing. And I know that because I don't have anybody living at home anymore, any children living at home anymore. When my son left, I found those things that were mom attachments. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it's that changing. We change. We have to change how we define our relationships with other people.
Yeah.
Which includes our children, because I think when we start to say, okay, I'm going to put friendship as a bit more of a priority, or even with our spouses. My husband is an introvert, and I always joke that I'm an extroverted introvert. I can be out there, but then I need to cocoon and recharge.
I say that I'm an outgoing introvert.
Again, Leisha. So it's about that recharging. He doesn't need that external friendship, that activity as much as I enjoy it.
Right.
So saying it's okay then for me to say, I need to go spend some time with friends. I'm going to go meet a girlfriend for a glass of wine or for a cup of coffee or whatever it is, and not feel guilty, quite frankly, which is a change in our behavior as moms and as wives. Yes. And that's almost self-indulgent to say, I need this time to myself.
Absolutely.
And it almost feels so good. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
About 2 years ago, I started a monthly night out with my friends. And it's probably 3 years ago. We have missed maybe 2 or 3 times in those few years. And always the next time we see each other, if we skip a month, everybody says, I miss you guys. I felt lonely when I went such a long period of time without coming to see y'all. And it has just become an important part of my self-care.
I love that you put it that way, self-care. And I'm actually going to create a flat Mary and send it out so I can start appearing in some of those adorable pictures.
Make sure she has a wine glass.
That's it. You know she will.
Yeah.
But I think in that too, when you said you started that, which I loved.
I did.
And how did you go about selecting who would participate?
Well, Facebook is the gift of being able to connect groups of people. I went to an all-girls high school, and I have a group of friends we've stayed friends since high school. So it started out about half of the mom friends from my son's school. Are y'all getting a feedback?
Yes.
I didn't on my end, but it's okay. We'll just talk over the technical.
It was part mom friends and part my old high school friends.
Okay.
And it's become a mixed group. Some people have drifted off, and new folks have come in. We call ourselves, you ready for it? Group therapy.
I love it.
That's so true. That's so true, because you miss each other, you have that bond, you feed those parts of each other that you need to feed. So it's a mutually supportive relationship, and exactly what you need. So when people start drifting from that, or when people start changing in those kind of relationships, you need to figure out where you fit, how you fit, what serves you. And I don't think we think about those in the moment, and I don't think we should think about those in the moment.
I think, though, you made a really good point, which is that it really is what serves us. If we bring it back to what role does friendship play in our lives, it's in many ways, especially for women, we rely on those connections. And so it is to help us kind of sometimes just get through the day-to-day, to celebrate with, to mourn with, all of those things. And staying focused then, when you do have limited time, back on that ROI. Where's my return on investment? Am I getting what I need from this friendship? Or is this friendship, as we called it, an energy vampire? Is it sucking life out of me that I don't have to give? I can barely give it to myself, let alone to somebody else. And friendships have their ebbs and flows. It's not to say, oh, this person's having a whiny day, scratch them off the list.
Right.
But surrounding ourselves with people who help lift us and support us. Ruth, I love the metaphor that you talk about with the boat.
Yeah.
The people in your boat.
Yeah. Sometimes it's important to check your boat and make sure that nobody in the boat is drilling holes when you're not watching. So know who you've got in your boat, because we have people in our lives who drill holes in our boat, and then we've got this, gradual sinking, and you can't determine where it's coming from, who it's coming from. So just be really careful. And I think that this leads us into talking about, being able to let go of friendships, relationships, whatever, that don't serve us, and that's not something that you do lightly, but it is something that you do strategically, right? I mean, just because it's always been this way and you've always been in my life and I've known you since I was 2 years old, does not mean that you still serve me in a specific way. Redefining is important as well as things change. One quick brain injury story. When I lost lots of friends, and when I say I don't know if they were friends to begin with, but there were lots of people who didn't know how to deal with the changed me because I looked so normal, right? I walked in the room, why shouldn't I behave like I did last week? Lots of people fell away in my life, and that was devastating, absolutely devastating. It's getting past that. It's walking past that and realizing, okay, as my husband says, if they're meant to be, they'll catch up. If they're meant to walk beside you, they'll catch up. Don't stress it, but there's still that mourning process of, my change, reacting to that change, and shifting friendships accordingly. It's okay to let go.
That brings up a good point also about it's okay to hold on to a friendship if you've decided that you want to redefine those boundaries also.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think, I know I've had those experiences. Have the two of you?
Absolutely.
You maintain it, and you set boundaries in a very subtle way, though. It's not, I've never written a decree that says our friendship will continue based on these,
Well, points, right. Here are my new rules for our friendship. You got to be really careful about that as well. If you want to maintain a friendship in a relationship, if it's important to you, especially if it's like a family member who's a friend.
Right. Right.
My husband and I have developed kind of an unofficial or unintentional way of coping with that. There are some friends that we call group friends. Like, we will invite them when we're doing a group activity because, frankly, that's just how it suits us, or that's how we have difficulty coming up with things in common anymore. We've grown in different directions, but we have this long history with them, and we want to keep them. But they're the kinds of friends that we'll invite to a night out with a group of other couples or with just a big gathering, but we won't necessarily go do something just with them. So that we kind of termed them group friends, that let's call them because it's going to be a group event because we're meeting somewhere, but it's not. Sometimes some friendships leave you stressed out. Some getting together with some friends leave you stressed out, and sometimes it leaves you feeling energized. And the trick is to identify how to maybe maintain a lighter relationship with those other people. And that's what we've done through our group night out events or group activities. Right.
You're diffusing energy. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a really good point, because there are friendships that we have that very similar that go back, especially if they're couples friends, which is interesting too, because you might get along with one, but not as well with the other. And it's
yes,
a paired set. So I think that's important too. It's just, again, recognizing where your boundaries lie and letting that be okay too, and saying it's okay that these friends fit, for lack of a better way to put it, in this box, and these
Yes.
friends are in this box, and these
Yeah.
friends are in this one. There are very few people I let into the inner sanctum, but there are a lot of people that I have on the outer part, and it doesn't mean that I don't enjoy them. It's just how I guard my space.
Right.
So,
And of
which
course,
I think is. Oh, go ahead, Ruth.
of course, with 1 minute left, we bring up the really meaty, deep things. Don't we always do this? You know, there are things like, you know, the things we haven't considered, like what happens with divorce, what happens with death, what happens when a couple becomes a single, what happens when a couple becomes two singles. How do you negotiate that as well? But we are at 29, and how the heck did that happen?
Well, and I think it's a perfect place to leave with the breathing exercise that you talked about leading us out with.
Yeah,
So,
we're breathing in new energy and new friendships, right? And we're releasing all those things that don't serve us. So find a comfortable spot, roll your head a little bit, relax. And then find a focal point and take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in and you feel that rush of cool air, breathe in new life, new friendships, new things that support you, hold you, empower you, and breathe out through your mouth. Feel the warm rush of air, all those things that no longer serve you. And then one more time, you breathe in through your nose, feel the cool rush of air, hold it at the top, feel the energy pour down and rain down, all that new friendship, new energy, and release. And have a wonderful day. Thank you for
joining us, Lisa. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.